I'm standing amid the wreckage of my late wife's dream mansion, the home I built for her after she lost a fight with cancer 6 years ago. Just yesterday, in 6 ruthless hours, bulldozers reduced $4, $2 million to rubble while I was in D.C. on official state business. The air stinks of diesel fuel and shattered drywall. Bent rebar sticks out of the ground like fractured bones. Over there, the infinity pool she designed in her final days, now split apart, water cascading down the ravine. At 6:47 a.m., the email landed. Demolition approved over $38,000 in unpaid HOA fines. Unpaid. That was Vivian Pritchard's lie. I had paid every dollar. Twice. Receipts, cleared checks, approval from her own committee, all preserved. What Vivian never anticipated. 3 weeks ago, I was sworn in as governor of this state. If an HOA ever destroyed your dream based on lies, comment below. What would you do? Tell me where you're watching from, because this is how you dismantle a tyrant who made the most expensive mistake of her life. Let me take you back 6 years. My wife Elaine was an architect, the kind who sketched buildings on napkins at dinner, who could look at a bare mountainside and imagine a home that truly belonged there. When ovarian cancer arrived, she fought it for 18 months. And in those final weeks, lying in a hospital bed with morphine softening the pain, she drew me a house. Not just any house, our dream home. Perched on a mountain at 7,200 feet, with floor-to-ceiling windows facing the Continental Divide. She wanted reclaimed timber from old barns, with that smell like a century of summers and winters, each beam scarred with the stories of families who once lived beneath it. She sketched the infinity pool stretching toward the valley like it was spilling into the sky itself. Build it, she told me 3 days before she died. Promise me you'll build it. I was 51, an appellate court judge, no children, and suddenly no wife. So I built it. 2 years spent tracking down every piece of reclaimed timber she specified. Cedar from a Montana barn that still carried the faint scent of mountain air. River rock for the fireplace. I can still hear the sound of those stones settling into place. That dry click-clack, like nature applauding. The custom steel and glass atrium she called a mountain's breath, designed to catch the wind and make it sing. When it was finished, I moved in. Ridgemore Estates, an upscale gated community 90 minutes from the state capital. 340 homes. Quiet. Exclusive. That piece lasted about 8 months. Then I met Vivian Pritchard. 61 years old, blonde hair shellacked into a helmet that could survive a Category 5 hurricane. Always wore turquoise jewelry like she was personally keeping a Southwest gift shop in business. Drove a white Cadillac Escalade with vanity plates reading HOA PIs, because subtlety clearly wasn't her strength. HOA president for 9 straight years. No one ever challenged her. Go figure. She owned a real estate brokerage in town. Her husband, Garrett, a retired state trooper who still carried his badge like he was waiting to arrest someone at the community pool, ran security consulting for the HOA. The trouble began when I repainted my exterior trim. Smoky quartz. A soft gray Lane had chosen. The architectural committee approved it in writing. 3 weeks later, Vivian appeared at my door like a turquoise-draped angel of bureaucratic death. That color is not approved. I showed her the committee's email, the paint code, the signatures. She glanced at it like I'd handed her a parking ticket from 1987. The committee was mistaken. I'm overriding them. I paid the $500 fine and repainted. I was still a sitting judge. I had to be careful about public conflicts. But Vivian was only getting started. Over the next 10 months, the fines arrived like clockwork. My driveway lights were excessive. The native wildflowers I planted to prevent erosion, unapproved landscaping. She wanted turf grass at 7,200 feet, where grass needs more water than a rice field. My housekeeper Lucia's 15-year-old Toyota, classified as a commercial vehicle. That last one showed me the real pattern. Lucia was from Guatemala, early 40s, mother of 3, U.S. citizen, born in El Paso. Vivian stopped her at the gate 3 times, demanded ID, asked about documentation. The 3rd time, Vivian sent me a formal notice. Domestic staff must park in designated service areas. There were no service areas. I responded in writing. This is discriminatory. Her reply, I don't see color. I see violations. By month 10, I had paid $34,000 in fines. Every single one documented. Receipts saved. Checks cleared. Emails proving the architectural committee approved everything she later labeled violations. Then I won the governor's race. 3 weeks after inauguration, I flew to D.C. for a mandatory conference. Day 3. My phone buzzed at 6:47 a.m. One email. Subject line, final notice, lien, foreclosure, and demolition authorized. I had 4 hours before they started tearing down Elaine's dream. I was 1,800 miles away. I called my lawyer from a hotel bathroom at 7 a.m., trying not to wake my chief of staff in the next room. Emergency injunction. Now, Tobias, courts don't open for 2 hours. You're in D.C. Even if I wake a judge, you just became governor. Every judge in this state either worked with you or wants something from you. This will look like abuse of office. He was right. Damn it. My neighbor Dale called 60 seconds later. Retired dentist. Hands steadier than mine at that moment. There are bulldozers at your gate. Through the phone, I heard it. Diesel engines. Backup alarms. The crunch of metal treads on the gravelly lane. And I had spread by hand. Film everything. Especially Vivian. Already. The video arrived 3 minutes later. The excavator's claw tearing through Elaine's atrium. Glass exploding into showers of light. Timber beams, each one tagged with her handwriting, snapping apart. And Vivian, standing there in a white pantsuit, arms folded, sunglasses on. When part of the pool broke free and tumbled into the ravine, she smiled. Dale caught that smile. I sent it to my lawyer. Evidence secured. Then I made 2 calls. First, Mariana Soto, civil rights attorney, 38. She just won $12 million against a sheriff's department for racial profiling. If anyone understood what Vivian did to Lucia, it was her. I saw the footage. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be angry. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. I'll be there. Second call, Kurt Bellamy, 6 to 7. Land use attorney. Argued 4 cases before the state Supreme Court. If anyone knew HOA law inside and out, it was Kurt. Tobias. I watched it on the news. That woman violated at least 6 statutes. How many can we prove? All of them. I chartered a flight. Midnight landing in Denver. 90-minute drive through darkness. I pulled up at 2 a.m. to what used to be my driveway. The smell was worse in person. Diesel and crushed drywall, that chemical bite coating your throat. I swept my flashlight across the debris. They had been thorough, efficient, cruel, but Elaine had been smarter. 18 inches beneath the master bedroom was a fireproof safe. Her idea. Every architect needs a vault for originals. I dug through rubble until my hands found it. The combination, our anniversary, still worked. Inside were her sketches, material lists, notes in her precise handwriting. And beneath them, my ammunition. Every receipt, every canceled check, every email approving what Vivian later called violations. My father prosecuted criminals for 30 years. He used to say, the bad guys always make the same mistake. They think paperwork is boring, but boring wins trials. Vivian had just handed me a trial. Mariana arrived at 6 wearing steel-toed boots, carrying a crime scene camera. Kurt showed up 10 minutes later in a pickup, legal pads under his arm like he was heading into court. We walked the perimeter. Mariana took 200 photos. Kurt scribbled notes, muttering statute numbers like incantations. This is the cleanest HOA violation I've seen in 40 years. Kurt said, crouching near a broken foundation slab. No certified notice. No hearing. Demolition during a 4-hour window while the owner was out of state on official business. He looked up at me. You know what this is? This is a civil rights attorney's dream and an HOA president's nightmare. Good, I said. By 8, news crews arrived. Vivian had invited them. She wanted her victory lap. There she was, white pantsuit crisp, giving Channel 7 her statement. No one is above the law, not even a governor. Mr. Kendrick refused to pay legitimate fines. We followed our procedures to the letter. This is about fairness and accountability. I waited until she finished, then stepped into frame. The anchor's face lit up like he'd won journalist bingo. Governor Kendrick. We weren't expecting. I wasn't expecting my home demolished with 4 hours' notice while I was in Washington serving my state. I unfolded my notes, the same kind I used to make on the bench. Here's the thing most people don't know about HOA law. It's actually pretty fair. Before an HOA can foreclose or demolish, they must send 30 days' notice by certified mail. They must hold a hearing. The owner gets to show up, present evidence, maybe avoid having their life destroyed. I set the notes on a piece of equipment. I received an email at 6:47 yesterday morning. Demolition at 9. I was 1,800 miles away. No hearing. No certified mail. Just 4 hours. The anchor turned to Vivian. Mrs. Pritchard, can you respond? Her smile vanished. This is a private HOA matter. You made it public the moment you invited the cameras. I pulled out the stack of canceled checks and held them up. $34,000. Every fine paid. Here are the receipts. And the other $4,000? Your own architectural committee approved those projects in writing before you overruled them and fined me anyway. Kurt stepped forward and placed the document in my hands. This is the HOA's Articles of Incorporation, filed with the state. It says right here, the president cannot override the architectural committee without a full board vote. He looked straight at Vivian. Did you hold a vote? Silence. Mariana raised a phone. We already have 18 homeowners prepared to join a class action. Illegal fines. Discriminatory enforcement. Demolition without due process. Want to guess the damages? Vivian climbed into her Escalade. The engine snarled. Tires spat gravel as she pulled away like a retreat. The anchor turned back to me. Governor, what happens next? Now we let the legal system do its job, which is good for everyone, because the law doesn't care if you're a governor or an HOA president. It only cares about what's right. Behind me, Kurt was already drafting the lawsuit on his yellow legal pad. Mariana was texting homeowners. We're filing Monday. You in? One by one. Yes. Yes. Finally, yes. Within 48 hours, Vivian hired a Denver-based PR firm. Suddenly, I was a villain. Conservative blogs ran opinion pieces. Governor Tobias Kendrick, elitist hypocrite who built a monument to his ego. Talk radio host devoted full segments to my mansion while I'd campaigned on humble beginnings. Someone tipped off the IRS, almost certainly Vivian's team, claiming I'd used campaign fund to build the house. Completely false. But an audit takes 6 months to clear. My communications director showed me the social media memes over breakfast. Me in a judge's robe standing in rubble. Rich governor cries about mansion. What about regular people? Posted hundreds of times by obvious bots. Want me to respond? She asked. No. Let them think they are winning. Vivian went on a podcast, one of those shows that always sides with the HOA. She spent 40 minutes portraying herself as a frightened volunteer. I genuinely feared for my safety around Mr. Kendrick, she said, her voice trembling. He was confrontational, angry, refused to accept that rules applied to him. I listened while driving to Kurt's office. Send the audio to Mariana, timestamp at the 32-minute mark where Vivian claimed I'd verbally threatened her. Mariana texted back immediately. She just committed defamation. Add it to the suit. Me? Not yet. Let her keep talking. The next attack came from Garrett. He appeared on local TV wearing his old state trooper uniform. Technically illegal for retired officers, but no one challenged it. The governor's property was a public nuisance, Garrett said, shaking his head like a disappointed father. Overgrown weeds. Broken fencing. We received complaints from 6 families. I watched it in Kurt's conference room. Pause. Rewound. He's lying, I said. Prove it. Kurt replied. So I spent an afternoon knocking on doors, the 6 closest homes to my property. The results were simple. Not a single complaint filed. 2 neighbors didn't even have a line of sight to my land. And one, an elderly widow named Iris, started crying when I asked about the nuisance claim. Vivian came 3 months ago with a pre-written complaint. Iris said, hands trembling as she poured tea in a kitchen that smelled like lavender and old paper. Said if I didn't sign, she'd find something. My rose bushes were 3 inches too tall. Her voice cracked. I was terrified. She handed me a folder. 4 years of threats. Fine for trash cans on the wrong day. Holiday lights taken down 2 days late. Her mailbox painted the wrong shade of black. Photos Garrett had taken of her home like surveillance footage. "I thought when you became governor, maybe you'd fix this," she said. "Then they said you were the problem." I took the folder and told her she would never be fined again. That night, I called Kurt. "We're expanding the lawsuit. This isn't just about my house. Already have 18 homeowners ready to join. Want more? Fine 30. We found 26 with sworn statements. Fines for gardens, fences, paint colors. One couple owed $8,000 because their teenager's 2004 Honda Civic was aesthetically inappropriate. Kurt compiled 70 pages. It read like a crime novel about petty tyranny. Meanwhile, Vivian made her desperate move. She approached State Senator Crosby Hart, my former primary opponent, offering to fund his next campaign if he'd sponsor HOA reform legislation that actually strengthened HOA power. Hart recorded the meeting and sent it to my chief of staff with a note. "Thought you should know." Vivian's voice was clear on tape. "We need to make it impossible for governors to bully community organizations. These people need to understand we're protecting property values." I saved the recording. Didn't leak it. Not yet. "She's panicking," Mariana said. "Panic people make mistakes. Let her panic more." Then Kurt found the smoking gun. He'd requested the HOA financial records, my legal right as a homeowner. It took 3 weeks for them to comply. When the documents arrived, Kate spent 2 days with a forensic accountant. He called me at 11 p.m. "You need to see this." His conference table was buried in spreadsheets like a crime scene. Overhead lights buzzing. Coffee cups everywhere. The smell of old paper and highlighter ink in the air. "Your HOA has $340,000 in reserves," Kurt said. "Last year they spent $180,000. Look at this. 3 line items. $60,000 to Garrett Security Consulting LLC. No contract, no deliverables. $4,000 to $5,000 to Vivian's daughter's landscaping company for work that looked like a middle school summer project. $7,000 to $5,000 fighting homeowners in court. People who settled just to escape. This is embezzlement," I said. "Correct. HOAs are nonprofits. Officers can't self-deal. Every dollar paid to a family is a felony." Kurt slid another document across the table. "Here's the real problem. There's a $127,000 lien against the HOA from a paving company. Work completed 18 months ago. Never paid. Where did the money go?" He showed me bank statements. Transfers to a Nevada LLC owned by Vivian and Garrett. She collected dues for the paving, pocketed the money, and now the HOA is about to be foreclosed on by the contractor. I stared at the numbers. Years of theft hiding in plain sight, because no one ever audited the books. "She didn't demolish my house over fines," I said. "She did it because I was about to become governor, and she needed me gone before anyone looked at these records." Kurt nodded. "She knew you'd audit everything eventually. You're a lawyer, a judge. This was always coming out. So she tried to destroy you first, and handed us a federal case. 2 weeks before Vivian's deposition, someone broke into my construction trailer. I'd been storing what survived of Elaine's materials there, salvaged timbers, her blueprints, the tool chest she used during construction. The call came at 6 a.m., Mr. Kendrick. Your trailer's been vandalized. I drove through dawn fog hanging in the pines like wet wool. The padlock had been cut clean through, the door swinging in the wind. That metallic creak slicing the morning silence. Inside was worse. Elaine's design journal, every sketch, every note explaining why she chose each angle. Gone. Her father's tool chest from architecture school. Gone. 3 irreplaceable timbers marked with her handwriting. Missing. Spray painted across the wall in dripping red letters. Go back to the Capitol. The smell of fresh paint burned sharp in my nose. This happened maybe an hour ago. I sat down on the metal step. First time since the demolition that I actually broke. Just sat there, head in my hands. Lucia found me 20 minutes later. She didn't say a word. Just sat beside me on that cold step. After 10 minutes, she spoke quietly. "Miss Elaine would want you to finish this. The sheriff's department classified it as low-priority vandalism. So I called Rex Dunaway, former FBI white-collar specialist. 48 hours, he said. Rex pulled gas station security footage 2 miles down the mountain. Garrett's truck. Timestamp. 2:14 a.m. driving away from my property. Credit card records showed Garrett buying bolt cutters and red spray paint 3 days earlier. Angry people get sloppy, Rex said. But Rex uncovered something bigger. He'd been tracking Vivian's real estate deals. Turns out she tried to buy my land 3 years in a row, even before the mansion was finished. She offered you 1.2, then 2 million, Rex said, spreading emails across my kitchen table. Appraisal was 2.1. You refused. I remembered. I wasn't selling Elaine's dream. Here's the real play, Rex continued. She had a luxury developer lined up, Aspen-based, willing to pay $3.6 million, 600% markup. One email jumped out. Vivian to her partner 18 months earlier. Kendrick won't sell. We need to create motivation. Create motivation. She planned this before my governor run. Rex nodded. She started manufacturing violations to push you out. When that failed, the election gave her the window. Demolish while you're distracted. The deposition took place in a Denver law firm. Mariana was precise. Mrs. Pritchard, you've stated you followed all procedures. Let's review the demolition vote. How many board members voted? Unanimous. The board has 5 members. The minutes show only 3 present. 2 submitted affidavits stating they were never notified. How is 3 out of 5 unanimous? Vivian shifted in her chair. They were notified. They forgot. So 2 board members are lying under oath? Her attorney cut in. Don't answer. Mariana slid an email across the table. The one where Vivian wrote, Kendrick is running for governor. We need him out. Find a reason. Can you explain this? The color drained from Vivian's face. That was taken out of context. What context makes find a reason to remove a homeowner acceptable? Silence. In this email, you wrote, Mr. Kendrick would bring protesters and media chaos if elected. We need him gone. That's accurate, correct? Vivian's voice sharpened. He was destroying the community. His staff, his visitors, people like him think they can move in and change everything. He didn't respect our traditions. You wouldn't understand. You people never do. The room went still. Mariana, calm and composed, slowly set her pen down. Excuse me. You people? A long silence followed. Vivian's attorney stood abruptly. We're taking a break. While Vivian unraveled, I was across town meeting Hector Ruiz, structural engineer, old law school friend. He'd been analyzing the demolition. We've got a serious problem, Hector said in his office, which smelled like coffee and blueprint toner. The contractor didn't follow EPA protocols. He slid lab reports across the desk. Asbestos confirmed in 12 of the salvaged barn timbers. No EPA notification filed. No air monitoring. No containment. They just tore it apart and let it spread. How bad? Neighbors within 200 yards were exposed, including 2 families with young children. He pulled up photos. The contractor is Vivian's brother-in-law. She signed a work order, so she knew. She had to know. This isn't negligence. This is a criminal environmental violation. Hector walked me through it. Asbestos abatement requires licensed contractors, seal containment, air testing. None of that happened. EPA fines run $25,000 per day, plus liability for health impacts. Can we file? Already drafted the complaint. You don't even need an attorney for this part. EPA investigates 70% of credible asbestos complaints within 90 days. He handed me a folder. Photos, lab results, timelines, everything they'd need. As the evidence piled up, the community responded. Dale organized a fundraiser at the local church. Rebuild Elaine's dream. 140 people showed up, not just from Ridgemore Estates, but across the county. People who'd heard the story. People with their own HOA scars. People who wanted to help. They raised $68,000 in one night. I stood at the front of that church hall, surrounded by strangers who had become allies, and felt something I hadn't felt since Elaine died. Like I wasn't alone anymore. This goes to a scholarship fund, I said, in Elaine's name, for students studying architecture. But Vivian made one final desperate move. She tried. Foreclosing on Iris, the elderly widow who'd signed the forced complaint. $12,000 in unpaid fines. Iris's daughter called Mariana in tears. Mariana filed an emergency injunction. A judge stopped it within 24 hours. Local news ran the headline. HOA president targets 79-year-old widow. That night, my phone buzzed. A text from Rex. Garrett just hired a criminal defense attorney. Me? Good. Let him sweat. Kurt's paralegal found something on a Tuesday afternoon during routine property record research. A mechanic's lien filed 18 months earlier against Ridgemore Estates HOA by Mountain Peak Paving Company. Amount, $127,000. Kurt called immediately. We've got something. I drove to his office. The lien document was spread across his desk, yellow highlights everywhere. This is valid. Kurt said. The paving company resurfaced every road in Ridgemore Estates. Vivian approved the project. They finished the work, invoiced the HOA, and never got paid. Where did the money go? He slid over the financials. Right here. Line item. Road resurfacing project. $127,000 collected from homeowners through a special assessment. Every resident paid their share. So the HOA had the money. Had it. Kurt pulled out bank records. 3 days after collection, the entire amount was transferred to Nevada LLC. Ridgemore Management Services. Owner, Vivian and Garrett Pritchard. I stared at the paperwork. The pattern was almost insulting in its simplicity. Collect funds for legitimate work. Transfer to a shell company. Leave the contractor unpaid. Pocket the difference. How long until foreclosure? Kurt checked his notes. The lien's been active 18 months. State law allows foreclosure after 2 years on HOA-owned property. Clubhouse, pool, entrance gates, everything the HOA owned collectively. So in 6 months, Ridgemore Estates loses its amenities unless someone pays a $127,000 plus interest, closer to $145,000 now. I leaned back. This wasn't about my house anymore. This was Vivian systematically robbing her own community, then silencing anyone who might uncover it. Get me a meeting with the paving company owner. Rick Delgado ran Mountain Peak Paving out of a shop that smelled like asphalt and motor oil. Early 50s. Callous hands. A man who built his business from nothing and believed in honest work. Governor, he said, shaking my hand. Didn't expect this. Call me Tobias. And I need to ask about the Ridgemore Estates job. His expression hardened. Been chasing payment for 18 months. That woman promised 30 days, then stopped answering calls. I've got crews, equipment loans, overhead. That money could have carried me through winter. What if I told you I could get you paid in full within 60 days? He studied me. What's the catch? No catch. I need you at an HOA town hall in 3 weeks. Bring your invoice, your lien documents, and be ready to tell your story to 340 homeowners. That's it? That's it. You did the work. You deserve to be paid. And those homeowners deserve to know where their money went. Rick extended his hand. I'm in. Back at Kurt's office, we laid it all out. Embezzlement, $180,000 in self-dealing payments to family over 2 years. Theft, $127,000 collected for paving, never paid. Civil rights violations, discriminatory enforcement against Lucia and others. Illegal demolition, no notice, no hearing. State statute violations. Environmental crimes, asbestos exposure. Witness intimidation. Vandalism of my trailer. Garrett's involvement confirmed by receipts and surveillance footage. This isn't an HOA dispute anymore, Mariana said, reviewing the stack. This is organized fraud. How soon can we take it to the FBI? I asked. Tomorrow, she said, but I think we should do it differently. How? She smiled. Publicly, in front of the entire community. Let everyone see exactly who Vivian Pritchard is before the federal government takes her away. Kurt nodded. The quarterly town hall is in 3 weeks. Vivian is required to preside, by the bylaws. And you still own the land. Even without a house, you have the right to attend and bring witnesses. We present everything. I said, every document, every recording, every witness, live, and we invite the press, Mariana added. Make it impossible for her to spin it. I thought about Elaine, about what she would want. Not revenge. Justice, the kind that protects people. Set it up, I said. Let's finish this the right way. Kurt rented a storage unit for evidence. Banker boxes, binders, timelines taped to the walls like a prosecutor's war room. Trial lawyers called this the story spine. Kurt said, pointing to a flowchart. Every jury needs a clean narrative. Villain commits harm. Truth is uncovered. Justice follows. We're in the middle. We rehearse contingencies. What if Vivian walks out? What if a lawyer interrupts? What if homeowners side with her? She can't leave, Kurt said. As president, she must preside. Her attorney can object, but this isn't court. It's a homeowner meeting. Mariana prepped witnesses. She worked with the 18 plaintiffs in small groups, teaching them to compress stories into 60 seconds. Facts, not feelings, she said. I was fined $8,000 for a shed the committee approved is stronger than she's awful. Iris practiced until her voice steadied. She threatened foreclosure over rose bushes 3 inches too tall. I'm 7 to 9. I measured with a ruler. Rick Delgado rehearses line. I pave your roads. Invoice $127,000. Never paid. She lied. Kurt explained records law. Any homeowner can request HOA financials. The board must comply within 10 days or face penalties. Crooked boards rely on silence. You asked. Vivian resisted. A judge ordered compliance within 48 hours. When an HOA fights records request, Kurt said, that's your warning sign. Honest boards don't hide. Hector finalizes engineering report. 40 pages detailing asbestos exposure, 12 contaminated timbers, no EPA notice, no air monitoring, families with children exposed within 200 yards. This goes beyond civil lawsuits, Hector said. This belongs to the EPA's Criminal Investigation Division. He showed me how to file. Anyone can submit an EPA complaint online. No attorney required, just photographs, lab reports, and a clear timeline. The EPA investigates nearly 70% of credible asbestos reports within 90 days. I submitted everything that afternoon, attached every file, and clicked send. Dale offered to live stream the town hall. 3 cameras, one on Vivian, one on the audience, one on the Q&A microphone. YouTube stream, unlisted link, shared with homeowners and press. Public meetings are public, Kurt reminded me. Recording eliminates, he said. She said, it also discourages violence. People behave differently when the world is watching. We placed backup audio recorders throughout the room in case Vivian tried to shut down the stream. My communications director briefed 3 journalists separately, each given a different angle to investigate. State paper, embezzlement, shell companies, stolen road funds, Denver television, discrimination against Lucia, intimidation of Iris, harassment patterns, national podcast, illegal demolition, EPA violations. By town hall night, my director said they'd all done their own digging. They'd come prepared. They'd ask hard questions. The night before, I couldn't sleep. At 3 a.m., I walked the property, stood where the atrium once was. Found broken glass from Elaine skylight. I picked up a shard and slipped it into my pocket. My phone buzzed. Text from Mariana. Vivian emailed all homeowners. Meeting restricted to homeowners only. No guests. No media. I called Kurt immediately. She can't do that, he said without hesitation. Bylaws, Section 7.3. Homeowners may bring advisors and witnesses. Excluding them violates state law. He drafted a response and CC'd every homeowner. Per bylaws, advisors are permitted. Exclusion is unlawful. See you at 7. I requested a sheriff's deputy, not as governor, but as a concerned citizen asking for law enforcement presence at a contentious public meeting. Deputy Ramona Voss was assigned. 15 years on the force, no connection to Garrett, reputation for neutrality. You're there to witness, not arrest, I told her. If laws are broken, you document. She nodded. Understood. Morning of the meeting, Vivian sent another email. High interest tonight. Standing room only. She was trying to pack the room with supporters, but I'd already confirmed 26 plaintiffs. Rick, Hector, Mariana, Kurt, Iris, all legally entitled to attend. 3 journalists confirmed parking lot positions. Dale texted at noon. Cameras set, tested, ready. 5 p.m. I drove to Ridgemore Estates and parked outside the clubhouse. Watched homeowners arrive early, claiming seats. My phone buzzed. Kurt, her attorney filed to postpone. Judge denied it 10 minutes ago. Mariana, all witnesses confirmed. Rick's bringing his voice. Chief of Staff, press is gathering. This is big. The sun dropped behind the mountains, sky burning orange. I thought about Elaine, about her dream, about justice that actually helps people. At 6:45, I stepped out of the car and walked toward the clubhouse. Inside, 120 folding chairs filled the room, fire code capacity. Vivian's podium stood at the front, flanked by 2 board members. The other 2, never notified of the demolition vote, conspicuously absent. Dale's cameras were already rolling. The live stream showed 340 viewers, every homeowner, plus press. I took a seat in the back row beside Mariana and Kurt. Lucia sat next to me, deliberately visible. 7 p.m. Vivian called a meeting to order, reading stiffly from a script. Welcome, neighbors. Tonight we celebrate another successful year. Reserve fund strong. Property values up 12%. PowerPoint slides. New clubhouse furniture. Repaved tennis courts. Holiday decorations. Slide 8. Expenditures. Legal defense. $75,000. Murmur spread. An anonymous homeowner stood. Defense against what? Vivian replied, frivolous lawsuits from a disgruntled former resident. Same homeowner. You mean the governor whose house you demolished? Vivian faltered. That matter is in litigation. I can't discuss it. Kurt stood. Actually, you brought it up. That makes it fair game. Vivian's attorney whispered, move on. But she couldn't stop herself. The governor thinks is above the rules. He refused basic community standards. We had no choice. I didn't stand, didn't speak, just met her eyes. The room noticed. Phones came up. Board member Phyllis suddenly spoke. Vivian, I need to say something. This isn't the time, Vivian snapped. I was never told about the demolition vote, Phyllis said. I was in Arizona visiting my daughter. You said it was an emergency. It was. Then why does the governor's attorney have emails showing you planned it 3 weeks in advance? The room erupted. Vivian slammed the gavel. Order. But chaos had taken hold. Homeowners shouted questions. Phyllis remained standing, holding printed emails like courtroom evidence. Vivian's attorney rose. This meeting is adjourned. Kurt's voice cut through. You can't adjourn during homeowner challenge. State law requires addressing questions. Deputy Voss stepped forward. I recommend continuing. Vivian dropped into her chair, voice trembling. Fine. Questions. One at a time. I stood and walked to the microphone. Dale's camera tracked me. Mrs. Pritchard, you've stated my property was demolished for unpaid legitimate fines, correct? Yes. How much did I allegedly owe? She checked her notes. $38,600. And I refused to pay despite multiple notices. Correct. I turned to Kurt. He handed me a binder. I'd like to enter into the record copies of 19 cashier's checks totaling $34,200. Each correspond to fines you issued. Each was cashed by the HOA within 10 business days. The binder was passed to Phyllis. She flipped through it, her face draining. That leaves $4,400. I continued. Can you tell this room what those fines were for? Vivian whispered to her attorney. He said, You're not required to answer. I'll answer, I said. $400 for refusing to repaint after you change your mind. $800 for wildflowers preventing erosion. $1,200 for refusing to ban my housekeeper from my driveway. $2,000 for refusing to remove a bird feeder you labeled visual clutter. All issued after your committee approved my plans. Kurt distributed packets down the rows. Email showing committee approval. Dated, signed, followed by Vivian's override notices. A homeowner read aloud. This says committee approval is void because the president disagrees. Can she do that? No, I said. Bylaws say committee decisions are final unless overridden by a full board vote. That never happened. Vivian raised her voice. You're twisting facts. You were a problem from day one. You and your staff. Your guests. You turned this community into a circus. My staff. I asked. You mean Lucia? I didn't say that. You wrote it. Mariana projected an email on the screen. Quote, Kendrick's domestic staff is a security risk. We need documentation of her legal status. Lucia stood, voice shaking but steady. I am a United States citizen, born in El Paso, Texas. You asked for my papers 4 times. You never asked anyone else. Vivian stammered. I was protecting the community. From what? I asked. A woman who cleans houses. Silence. Phone's recording. Let's talk money. I said, where did the $127,000 for road resurfacing go? There was a budget shortfall. Rick Delgado stood. I paved your roads 2 years ago. Invoiced $127,000. Never got paid. I have a lien. If unpaid in 30 days, I can foreclose on this clubhouse. Gasps rippled. We paid that assessment. Someone shouted. I paid $1,800. Kurt stood. The money was collected, then transferred to Nevada LLC, Ridgemore Management Services, owned by Vivian and Garrett Pritchard. That's embezzlement. Vivian's attorney went pale. This meeting is over. Deputy Voss, sir, sit down. The governor is a homeowner. He has the right to ask questions. One more, I said. When did you decide to demolish my house? After you refused to comply. After I was elected governor. That's irrelevant. Mariana projected another email. From you to your attorney 11 months ago. Quote, Kendrick is running for governor. If he wins, we need him gone. Find a reason. Explain that. Vivian shook. You're taking it out of context. What context? I asked. You planned this for a year. Targeted me for my career. Destroyed my home. My late wife's legacy. 4 hours notice. Violating state law, federal EPA rules, and basic decency. Vivian screamed. You don't belong here. You never did. You and your people think you can just move in. Garrett grabbed her arm. Too late. Phyllis stood. Vivian, sit down. You're done. Vivian collapsed, sobbing. Deputy Voss spoke into her radio. Dispatch, request a detective at Ridgemore Estates Clubhouse. Possible financial crimes. The live stream viewer count jumped to 1,200. I looked at the room. 300 faces. Anger, shock, relief. I'm not here for revenge, I said quietly. I'm here because no one should go through this. No one should be targeted like Lucia. This ends tonight. 5 seconds of silence. Then chaos. 3 news crews burst through the doors. Lights. Cameras. Microphones. Channel 7's anchor shoved a MIC toward Vivian. Mrs. Pritchard, did you embezzle HOA funds? Her attorney blocked her. No comment. The podcast host cornered Garrett. Did you vandalize the governor's trailer? He pushed past, and then the homeowners exploded. Voices rising. People who'd been silent for years finally standing. You fined me $6,000 for a fence you approved. My daughter's Honda, a man shouted. You labeled it commercial. Where's my road paving money? Another voice yelled. Vivian clutched her purse and tried to push past the crowd. Phyllis stepped in front of the door. You're not leaving. She turned to the room. We're voting. Right now. You can't do that, Vivian snapped. Emergency vote to remove the president, Phyllis said. Effective immediately. Leonard stood. Seconded. All in favor. Both board members raised their hands. Motion carries. Vivian, you're removed. Vivian's face drained of color. This is illegal. You need the full board. The full board wasn't informed before you demolish a $4 million home, Phyllis replied. We'll sort legality later. For now, leave. Garrett grabbed Vivian's arm and dragged her toward the exit. She screamed, You'll regret this. I gave 9 years to this community. The door slammed. The Escalade's taillights vanished into the dark. The room released a collective breath. Deputy Voss stepped forward. Anyone with knowledge of financial irregularities, discrimination, or property damage, please stay to give statements. Hands shot up. 20, 30, 40. Rick raised his hand. Iris did too. So did Lucia. Journalists flooded the room, pulling homeowners aside, collecting quotes, building stories in real time. The podcast host approached me. Governor, What happens now legally? The system takes over, I said. Civil suits are filed. The Attorney General is investigating embezzlement. The EPA is reviewing environmental violations. Law enforcement is taking statements for criminal charges. Will Vivian Pritchett go to prison? That for prosecutors and juries. Behind me, Mariana organized witnesses into groups. Kurt photographed documents and whiteboards. Dale kept the live stream running. Viewer count, 2,800. Comments pouring in. My phone buzzed. Chief of Staff. National coverage in 3, 2. Twitter exploded. Governor dismantles corrupt HOA trending nationwide. Vivian's "You People" comment spreading everywhere. 30 minutes later, the room emptied. I was helping Dale pack equipment when Iris approached with her daughter. "Governor," she said softly, shaking. "Thank you. I've lived afraid for years. Afraid to plant flowers. Afraid to turn on lights. Afraid to park wrong. Tonight, I'm not afraid." Her daughter wrapped her in a hug. "No one should live like that," I said. "What you did gave me courage," Iris replied. "I'm filing complaints, too, for everything she did to me." "Mariana will help," I said. "You won't be alone. 40 people are already standing with you." After they left, I sat in a folding chair. The clubhouse was empty except for Kurt, Mariana, and Dale. The air smelled like stale coffee and adrenaline. Evidence boards still lined the wall. Timelines, bank transfers, emails mapping Vivian's corruption. "We did it," Mariana said. "Not yet," I replied. "Tonight was exposure. Justice comes next." Kurt checked his phone. Attorney General just called. Formal criminal investigation opened. FBI 2, he added. Interstate shell companies. Federal case. Dale turned his phone toward me. Live streams archived. 8,300 views. I scrolled the comments. This is accountability. Finally, someone fought back. "My HOA does this. Where do I start?" That one stopped me. "Kurt," I said, "can we create a resource guide? Records requests, complaints, organizing against corrupt boards?" "Already started," he said. "Free. Public. Outside, the mountain night was crisp and clear. Stars everywhere. I stood in the parking lot where homeowners had arrived earlier, anxious and uncertain. They'd left different, lighter, empowered. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. "Governor, this is Carla Mendez. We met at the festival. Remember the water issue?" I remembered. 32 kids are sick. The state says it's safe. It's not. I stared at the screen. Another fight. Another system protecting the wrong people. I typed, "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. My office. Bring everything." Mariana glanced over my shoulder. "You're not done, are you?" "Just getting started." Kurt locked the clubhouse behind us. "For what it's worth," he said, "Elaine would be proud." I looked back at the building, the site of Vivian's collapse. Tomorrow it would just be a clubhouse again. Tonight, it had been a courtroom where truth won. She would, I said. We drove down the mountain in convoy. Kurt's pickup, Mariana's sedan, my truck, headlights cutting through pine and shadow. Behind us, Ridgemore Estate slept peacefully for the first time in 9 years. 6 days later, the arrests came. I was in my office reviewing Carla's water contamination files when my chief of staff knocked. "Tobias, turn on Channel 7. I pulled up the stream. Vivian's house filled the screen. 2 FBI vehicles in the driveway. Agents carrying boxes. The anchor spoke. "Breaking news. FBI agents are executing search warrants at the home of former HOA President Vivian Pritchett in connection with alleged embezzlement and wire fraud." My phone lit up. "Kurt, it's happening." "Mariana, FBI wants our evidence files." "Rex, Garrett's in custody. Picked up at 6 a.m. I watched Vivian emerge in handcuffs. No turquoise jewelry. No sunglasses. Just someone who had finally run out of places to hide. Formal charges followed 3 days later. Federal wire fraud. Embezzlement. Civil rights violations. Witness intimidation. EPA added criminal environmental charges for asbestos exposure. Bail set at $500,000 for Vivian, $250,000 for Garrett. They couldn't post it. Spent 2 weeks in federal custody before Vivian's daughter mortgaged her house. Civil court delivered the real reckoning. Kurt and Mariana filed a consolidated case, my wrongful demolition, a class action from 26 homeowners, and Rick Delgado's lien. The HOA's insurance carrier settled in 30 days. Total, $1. $2 million. My portion, $400,000, covered the rebuild with funds left for Elaine's scholarship. Homeowners averaged $67,000 each. Years of illegal fines returned with interest. Rick received $145,000 plus fees, paid off loans, gave bonuses, cried when the check cleared. Iris paid off a mortgage and donated $15,000 to the food bank. Ridgemore Estates changed completely. Phyllis called an emergency election. New board by landslide. New bylaws. Transparent finances posted monthly. No fines over $500 without hearings. Annual audits. 2/3 vote required for any demolition or foreclosure. The Attorney General asked me to testify before the legislature. HOA reform statewide. I sat in the Capitol building where I'd been sworn in months earlier, this time not as governor, but as a homeowner. HOAs operate with almost no oversight. I testified. They can fine, foreclose, demolish with minimal due process. My case got attention because of my title. Thousands suffer quietly. I presented Kurt's guide. The Homeowner Protection Act passed. I signed it at Ridgemore Estates. Iris stood beside me. Rick too. Lucia too. I handed the pen to Iris. This is for everyone who was afraid to speak. Within months, other states followed. I rebuilt smaller, sustainable, local labor, Elaine salvaged timber. Not a monument, just home. The opening became a community celebration. 200 people, music, kids, laughter, the same view Elaine once sketched. Lucia brought coffee. She worked with me now. Full benefits. My phone buzzed. Text from Mariana. Vivian pled guilty. 8 years. Lucia read it. Is it over? For her, I said. For us, we're just beginning. Years later, Ridgemore Estates thrived. No foreclosures. No demolitions. The scholarship grew. Trails opened. Families walked where fear once lived. Power without accountability doesn't last. And hey, on this mountain, in a house built from loss and justice and stubborn hope, I was finally home. If you face an HOA nightmare or any small tyrant who thought they were untouchable, share your story. Shine light. And if you want to see what happened with Carla in that water fight, subscribe, because justice doesn't end. But damn, it feels good when it wins.